Sometimes carp fishing is about taking it all in. The scenery, the nature, the atmosphere, the places it takes you, and the people you go with. Sometimes it can leave you doubting your ability. Methods you had faith in fail you. Tried and trusted baits and rigs seem useless, and all you can do is hope time will pass quickly until your next capture. You dream of a session to remember. Sometimes though, it can make your dreams come true. Heading to France for a week's fishing is always a gamble. You can't guarantee the weather or the fishing, but at least you're with mates, and a few laughs are always on the cards.
You're getting the essentials, Ed?
Yeah.
Most important bit, yeah?
So on arrival at the lake, we didn't know what to expect. We were certainly impressed with the lake and facilities, and set about getting the gear sorted for the week ahead. Not knowing much about the lake, we hoped for a few fish, and maybe, just maybe, one of the larger residents would pay us a visit. It didn't quite start as we'd hoped.
Yeah, well, as you can see, there's a sea of carnage here, and we're just in the midst of setting up, and we've had fish showing in the area, and I decided to fish one really tight over there. Fishing in open water, oh, it's just something's give there.
Well, first bite of the session. I don't know what it is. It doesn't feel big. Money's on a tench or a little catfish. Well, not the target species, but a little bit of fun.
So with one lost carp and a small catfish to start the session going into the first evening, we hoped things would improve as the week went on. Early the next day, Ed got the ball rolling and things were looking up.
Well, it's a nice way to start the first morning on Meunier. I've got a carp on the ends, which is nice. I'm not sure what the other lads have had down the other end of the lake, but this one's from open water, so hopefully that's a very good sign. Doesn't feel massive, but at least it's a carp.
It seems Ed underestimated this fish slightly.
Get in. $41.6. Happy with that. Here she is, 41.6. Off the mark at Mounier. Couldn't be happier with this. Big chunky fish, spawned out a little bit. You can see at the front there is a little bit empty, or she's a little bit empty. But that's what you expect in summer, nice and healthy. Happy with this, always nice to get off the mark. Let's let him go back.
While Ed got his rods back out, I heard on the walkie-talkie that Guy 2 had got off the mark.
So, not a bad start to the session. 28.3 mirror at Mounier. Pretty chuffed. Should be a good week ahead as well. Yep, quick slap round the mush. I'll let you go now. Sorted.
The action didn't stop there.
Right. It's getting serious now. Unfortunately, I lost a big fish in the night. Might have been a catfish the way it pulled, but looks like it's given me a second chance on the first morning at Mounier. And I'm absolutely shaking because it feels like a decent one. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get this in and I'll be off the mark and it'll take the pressure off a little bit. But yeah, it feels like a good fish. Just plodding around really, but we're getting quite close now, so I'm going to concentrate and hopefully get this one in the net. I'm just trying to keep the line low underneath these other lines here. It's the beauty of fishing a tight line, you can play fish underneath them. I feel my adrenaline going now. Oh, I'm buzzing with that. Well, there you go. 34 pound 12 ounces. My first fish from Etang Mounier on the first morning, so that's a really good start to the session. After losing one, I was a little bit wounded after that, and I kept saying to Ed, I really need a fish now to make up for it. And here he is. So yeah, really over the moon with that one. And hopefully it's one of a few more to come. Go on. Yeah.
Well, I'm away again. Luckily, it's about 2 hours since the first fish. And strange occurrence, that the middle bobbin just absolutely smashed up to the top and then just settled exactly where it was before. And I just thought it was a fish coming through the line quite close in. with how quick it was, but because it literally just settled in exactly the same place it was previously. So then I come and stand next to the rod, and then it just tightened up, stayed tight, out the clip, and the tip just bent round. Oh. That'll do. Look at this one for a little banger. It's almost like a half linear, and it's got these little tiny pearly scales just above its lateral line. Cracking little fish. Only about mid-20, but still, I like catching them when they're this nice. Awesome, second fish of the session. Cracking fish. Very pleased with this one. I just hope some of its mates are still on that baited area feeding now. Well, it's nice to get 2 fish in the morning, so I'm just going to get that rod back out now. That was off the baited area, which is great. You know, it shows that the plan's working a little bit and everything else is happening from tight to the snags, but that was open water. So it was a little wafter rig that Frank Warwick showed me actually last year when we was at Marpesh filming for ProLogic again. And it's actually a liner rig, which I've used to use years and years ago. But I kind of like the attributes of it, because if you don't put an aggressive bend in the shrink tubing, you can actually hook the fish quite far back, which is completely different to the rigs that I normally fish, which are hinge stiffs with quite an aggressive turn. So the hinge stiff pop-up rig that I like tends to hook the fish right in the lip, whereas this rig, because it's got more of an open gape, can hook the fish a bit further back. And that was a really good hook hold. So I'm just about to get that rig back out again. And I seem to run out of all my PVA sleeve, so I'm going to have to tie a little bit of a stringer on. The downside of this rig, the fact it's got a little loop there, means that the bait can sort of twist round and cover the hook point in the flight if it's a bit of an uneven flight, so I always like a bit of PVA with it. So what I tend to do is just to wrap this round a little bit so it closes that up so it can't really move, and then I wrap the rest around the hook and around the hook point, and I'm getting covered in glug here. So it's the bait I'm using is a cell wafter, and I do like to glug it up, 1 for added attraction, and 2 because I've just tested this bait in the water and I've towel dried it, but glug's always a good way of just getting all the moisture off so it doesn't melt the PVA, and that holds the hook bait in place, a nice little stringer, and the more weight I've got on the end of that, the less likely that rig is to tangle. But I will watch it through the air, and hopefully I can get it back to the baited spot in 1 cast. So if there is still a few fish feeding there in that 2.5, 3K that I put out last night, then there's a chance of getting this rod back out without disturbing them and hopefully picking up another bite. I'm using quite thick fluorocarbon because I just love the properties of it. It doesn't stretch as much as mono, and it really, really sinks. If you look at my lines in the water, they're going down, and I'm not fishing that slack. I'm just fishing with the bobbins reasonably low, so they're not mega slack like I was fishing in the edge. Then I'd fish them right down. The fluorocarbon naturally sinks, whereas mono it does sink, but it's more neutrally buoyant. So mono will sit a lot higher in the water than fluorocarbon. So if there's any fish feeding around my baited area, the chances are the fluorocarbon, on a lake like this, which is just a kind of silty estate lake, the chances are the fluorocarbon is going to be on the deck and give the fish a bit more confidence to feed around the area. But the trouble with fluorocarbon is it doesn't cast particularly well, so I have to look after it a bit. So I always wet the spool before I cast, and because it's quite a thick one, this is a 0.40, which is a bit thicker than what I'd normally like, but because we've got a lot of snags here, it could come in quite useful. So with fluorocarbon, I have to just hit it a little bit harder than what I would do mono, just to get it out there. But once it's out there, it fishes really, really well.
Welcome to Meunier in Limoges in France. We got down here yesterday evening, about 8 o'clock in the evening, and it was a bit of a carry-on getting here, I'll tell you. Anyway, as is always the case on the first evening when you get there, we toss coins for who got what swims, and when we walk around we're seeing quite a few signs of fish, and they were sheeting up quite a few areas in open water as well, which was encouraging. And there was fizzes going on, and over quite a lot of the lake, but down it's like a Kraft cheese slice sort of shape. There's the wider part near the dam where Si and Ed are, and then me and Guy have gone down the narrow bit. Guy's down where the inlet is. It's like a small stream, or a bit of a small river runs into it, this. So Guy wanted to go down there. I'm on the next swim. It's still quite narrow here, it's only about 50 yards across. And then it broadens off to about, I suppose, 90 yards, 100 yards across up the dam end. Anyway, we got in position. I had a bite fairly quickly. I decided to fish tight to the far margin, which is the obvious thing that a lot of people probably do, using bait boats and stuff. And I mean, I'm casting on this occasion. I have got a bait boat with us in case I need to fish tight to the snags, but unfortunately that's gone kaput, so that's no longer in the game, which is no big loss to me anyhow, because I prefer casting if I can get away with it. And anyway, I managed to hook pull on a fish, unfortunately, and there seemed to be fish in the area till I put the lines in. As soon as I put the lines in, as is usually the case, it quietened off. Anyway, our guys had a 28, and he had a hook pull as well. It's not been a bad start. Si's had a fish, and Ed's had a couple of fish, and his biggest one was 41.3, I think it was, or 41.6, something like that. So very encouraging, and what a beautiful place it is. I think we're going to enjoy this week, and see how they respond to our tactics. But I think it's looking promising, and yeah, it's just lovely to be here. You know, it's so peaceful. You got the whole place to yourself. There's a house there with all the amenities if you need to do that. Freezer, fridge. It's got everything you could possibly need. So yeah, we're pretty cosy, and it's going to be the start of another adventure for us. And it's quite good because there's fish up to the biggest that's been out there is around 70 pounds, and there's quite a few 50s and some fish over 60. So it's got everything that you would want, and yeah, gorgeous. So I'll keep you posted as the session unfolds. I'd like to show you some of the baits we're using and tactics, the rigs, the usual sort of stuff, but go into some detail with all this, and then you know, give you a bit of advice if ever you fish this kind of water, because I fished in France quite extensively and across Europe, and see how it pans out, and the boys have. So yeah, catch you in a bit.
No sooner had I finished talking to Frank when we heard a shout from Guy in the next swim. This was turning into a very productive session.
Second fish, 37.6, beautiful mirror. From the snags close in. I'll let you know tomorrow about tactics, and I've got it. Decent. Nice. Get in there.
After a busy day, Ed and I decided to wind in and have a catch up with Frank and Guy before getting the rods out and the barbecue on.
We're just trying to enjoy barbecue. We just put it on. It's been a bit of a late night for one reason or another. A few disasters. And I've gone and got a bite off the baited area, which has only been out there about 2 hours, so I've filled it in with about another 3k, and they're on it straight away. So it's nice to pick a few bites up from open water. It's not doing a great deal at the minute, it's just kind of plodding around a little bit. But yeah, it's a carp. Oh, got him. Well, I'm happy with this fella. It's just over 36 pound, and he's my third fish in just over 24 hours, so it's turning out to be a bit of an awesome session. So, managed to get the rod back out, but I'm absolutely starving, so I need to tuck into that barbecue before I crash out for the night. So, gonna get this fella back and enjoy some nice sausages and a bit of couscous. Oh, he's a bit lively. I'm gonna get him back straight away.
A gorgeous morning was again interrupted by the rods, and the action was really starting to gain momentum.
Well, it's all kicking off now. I lost one about an hour ago. Literally got it right in under the rod tip. So started going up and down in front of the rod tip, and the hook pulled. Simon's just had one. He's got one in the net, and now I've got this one. And my baited area is just complete frothy mess out there. And yeah, I think it's all been kicking off. And I must admit, I was absolutely fast asleep when this one went. But it's coming in, and hopefully I get this one in and I don't lose it under the rod tip like I did the last one.
Right, just knocked him in the net. He's not very big, he's a 20. So I'm just gonna get all the line out of him, out of the way, and let him go so we can focus on Simon's chunk, which looks like a very good fish to me. So let's let this little fella go. Go on, mate. There we go.
Whenever I come to France, I always think a 50-pounder is the sort of target, really. And in the sling in front of me here, we've got a 51-pound 10 mirror, real chunky fish. It took me about half an hour to land it, but it was worth the wait. I'm absolutely over the moon. So yeah, it's tricky light at the moment. We've got bright sunshine, but I'm gonna try and get it up to show you. Hopefully he's going to behave himself. And there you go. Well happy with that, 51.10. So later on, if we get time, I'm going to talk you through the tactics a little bit, let you know how I've been fishing and where I've been fishing. And hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to Guy as well. I think he's had a fish. He's got waiting for us to go and film as well. So yeah, it's definitely kicking off a little bit today. My arms are shaking, so I'll get some pictures of this fish and I better get it back. Come on. Well, one last look at this 50-pounder before it goes back. I'm well happy with that. That's what I came to France for, really. 51-pound 10, I believe it was. Oh, see if I can show you it properly. There we go. Get in, happy with that. Looks like he's ready to go, so let's get him back. Come on. Just put that 50-pounder back. Literally, I was still in the water and my left hand rod pulled up tight. So I picked up into that, got it in the net, and the right hand rod's gone as well. So I've got a brace of fish to show you now, a 30 and a 40. This is the bigger one of the two. There we go. Check that out. 40 pound, 4 ounces at Tang de Monnier. Oh. He's flipped himself over, so I'll show you the other side. Nice big French carp. That's why we came here. Right, he's a bit angry, this one. 33 pound. It's one of a brace that I've just had after putting back that 50. So it's a 50, a 40 and a 30 this morning. That's French carp fishing for you. It can be quite quiet and then suddenly kick off. So yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon. Let's get this one back after a couple of pictures and we'll go see how Guy's getting on. So I believe he's got a fish to show us as well. Come on.
So, 31.4, beautiful little mirror. 6:30 this morning, screamer. Happy with this.
I was just thinking about some breakfast when Ed was in again. It was another smaller one, so we got it back as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange how these bites are all coming at the minute. I've had 5 bites in the last 12 hours. The first 3 were all off the baited spot that I put out last night, about 2.5, 3 kilos, and 2 rods across on that. And then I got 3 bites on the trot on that one last night, 2 first thing this morning. But now it's late morning, and I've just had 2 bites within 30 minutes of each other, both on a fluoro yellow pop-up off the baited area, so I'm probably fishing a rod length off the baited area. So it's interesting how things change as the day's going on. I mean, it could just be luck, but they were probably heavily feeding this morning on the baited spot because it was bubbling out there big time. And now I think they're just cruising round. Now it's got a bit warmer and just picking up the odd food item here. So this is just a bright yellow pop-up. I'm not really a fluoro angler. I don't do it that often, but there's certain circumstances like fishing off a baited spot in slightly coloured water that I like to use something bright and something really smelly. But I've just been putting this pineapple spray in it, and I've actually soaked it in this for overnight, so it really does smell of pineapple and the citrus flavour that it originally smelt of. So that's what's just done me 2 bites in half an hour, and I'm going to bang it out and see if I can get a third.
So I'm going to go down to the very narrow end where the shallows are, and it's about 2 foot, 3 foot deep down there. And we've seen loads of sheeting up. We've seen fish crashing. We've heard them in the night, and I'm going to get the gear and just do an afternoon down there and see what happens, and take it from there, because you're not allowed to do a night down there, else I would have been in there like a bullet. But a day session's enough, and if it works, I'll just pick my times, come back to the swim, do nights, and then just keep going down there and picking them off in the day. So you're about to see what happens with this carry on now. So there we go. See you in a bit. Bit of a schoolboy, really. I should have gone down there and looked before I humped the wheelbarrow around, but it was only light anyhow. So I went and spent a good half hour looking, and these French fish is just not like you'd expect with English fish. You'd expect in these conditions, it's hot and warm, there's an inlet with a stream, you'd expect the fish to be down there in the droves. We heard them last night and early in the morning, and when we were walking around the lake, they were sheeting up down there. It was like looking pretty damn good. Anyway, totally devoid of fish. The only fish we saw were in the snags where guys fishing, and we're seeing a couple of really big fish there. We tried to get some footage of it, but they're definitely feeding. They're heads down, tails up. So it's looking good for the young fella. And so I've decided to cut my losses. I'm going to get back on the tree line and continue fishing my swim for now, and I'll just save that for another option tomorrow or the day after and take it from there. But no point in putting the rods out, waiting for them to come, because they might not come. So yeah, let's scrub that one.
Hey guys, so what a fantastic start I've had this week. Not far into it either. I think we've had just over 48 now. I've had 3 fish. I've lost a couple due to the snags, but the fish in here, they know what they're doing. They're on the toes, they're keeping you active. I was fishing very tight in under the snags to start with, as I thought, they're all at the back. But I did learn my lesson, so what I changed to is just fishing off them, let's say rod length, half a rod length off, depending on which hole I'm going in. And it's bringing them out, so I'm putting a quick catty in, straight in the bush, keeping them active. One just off it, and then I'm fishing just round there, so it's teasing the big boys out. But yeah, I'm happy. Biggest fish so far, 37.6 it was. So yeah, I'm chuffed with that. Quite shallow, so you've got to be quiet around here. But I'm liking the wind, it's coming straight down to me. And the bait is working fantastic. MB Baits, Mick Ball, what a geezer, loving it. So yeah, hopefully this week we're gonna have some wowzers. Cheers.
Finally, a lull in the action allowed us to reset everything. Fresh bait and rigs out, it was time to relax. Or so I thought.
So 4 fish, beautiful mirror. I've had it from the middle, little hole in the middle of the trees. It's doing me good, it is. About a rod length off, a few spreads of boilies. And yeah, 4 fish. Super chuffed.
Yet again, morning was a productive time, but rain delayed us getting the fish photographed.
Right, well, as you can see, it's started to rain in the night, and I've had a right torturous time in this particular little swim. Everyone else is catching all right, and I've been struggling to get bites, if I'm honest. The only way I could get bites was to fish really tight to the trees, and it's fraught with danger. And the fish just seem to be passing through, and they're staying right at the back of the trees. I've tried fishing open water, fishing off the trees, and unfortunately I've had to go really tight to get bites, and it's not been easy going at all. Anyway, this change in weather might have swung in my favour, because when we arrived there was fish here and it was raining. So maybe there's some kind of connection with that, I don't know.
Right guys, good morning. We're on Tuesday now, and as you might see from outside there, it's absolutely heaving it down. But you might also see a couple of nets with fish in there ready for photographs, but can't really do anything with the weather the way it is. I've also just been down to Frankie, just caught a fish, and then the heavens opened again, so didn't have time to film that for you. And I believe Guy's had a fish as well, so it's been a very busy, productive morning, just from first light really until about now. But we've not had a chance to kind of get the fish out and show you, but I just thought I'd let you know what's going on at the moment. Tuesday morning, and it's kind of kicked off a little bit, and we've had no sleep particularly. I'm just sheltering in the little under the house bit. You've got fridge freezer in here and everything. Fish pictures on the wall, which is pretty carpy. And I'm actually sleeping in here as well, so you see my bed chair down there. There's not really a lot of space for a bivvy out in this swim. You've got that sort of area down there, but if I put a bivvy in there, it would take up half of it and I wouldn't have room for my rods really. So during the day, we're kind of sheltering under this balcony of the house here, and I've just been sitting down here kind of tying rigs and things like that. And then, yeah, this is the sort of hut that you get. You've got all your mats and slings and everything provided, and a table in here, so it's pretty carnage at the moment. Just it's quite hard to keep tidy and organised when you've been so busy rushing around filming everything, but it is what it is. But yeah, we're going to wait for the rain to stop and hopefully show you some fish in a minute, because I think one of them might scrape sort of 50 if I'm lucky, sort of maybe mid to upper 40s, and another 40 pounder. I think Ed's got one around about 40 pound and a 20 as well, and Guy's got a 30 and Frank's got a 30, so you know, plenty to show you when we can. But for now, I'm just going to have a coffee, sit in here and watch the water, and hopefully the rain will stop in a minute.
Well, here's my 6th fish of the session. I've been a bit unlucky with sizes, I think, on here. It's another 20, it's my 4th 20, so this is 27 pound. But it's great fun, he's a nice looking fish, so pleased to get him. 7th fish of the session, and a bit bigger than the last one. This one's just under 40, I think it was 39.10. So really pleased with this. And both these two fish this morning came off the baited spot. So it seems like a pattern's emerging. I'm getting fish off the baited spot in the morning, and then as the day wears on a little bit, the single seems to be going off sort of late morning, early afternoon. So yeah, they want the bait in the morning, and then just something bright and visual in the afternoon. Well, really happy with this one. The sun's come out as well, so it's turned into a nice day. I'm just hoping there's another chance left now before the sun gets too high and the fish switch off for the afternoon. But if they do, still really pleased. Let's let him go and get the rods back out.
Well, here's the first one from my flurry of activity at first light this morning. An absolutely gorgeous slate grey, 41 pound, 6 ounce or 8 ounce, I think it was, mirror. Caught from the far corner over there. And I've got one which I think is a bit bigger in the net as well, so I'm going to hopefully get some photos in the water with this one and get it back, and then we'll show you the other one. This fish is keen to get back, so I'll just try and show you one more time. There you go. That's 41 pound, 8 ounces from my Tang Meunier. And we're on day 3, I think, so we've still got 4 nights to go. And we've got another one to show you yet, so we'll get this back and we'll show you the other one. This one was a little bit bigger, and it is 47 pound exactly, so my second biggest of the trip so far, the biggest obviously being that 51. So that's 2 40s this morning, so I'm absolutely made up. It's really going well this trip, just picking off the odd 1 or 2 fish each day. is just nice really, you know, it kind of gives us a chance to do stuff in the day and then we can get the rods sorted for the night and ready for the early morning period. So yeah, I'm buzzing with that, and we've got to go see Frank and Guy now because they've got some fish to show us as well. So let's get some pictures of this one and get it back. Right guys, here's the 47 pounder. Etang de Monnier. It's very heavy, but I'll try and lift him just to show you. There we go. Proper lovely dark one. Probably the nicest fish so far in terms of looks, and my second biggest, so happy days. Let's get him back and go see Frank and Guy.
Well, as I just predicted, with that 39, that this single pop-up, this single yellow pop-up, that's been glugged up to high heaven with the pineapple juice, is the one that's gone again. It seems to be a definite pattern. The two rods on the baited area are going first thing in the morning, and now it's around about midday, and this rod's away. You know, the bright single that's fished, I don't know, rod length, probably 15 foot off the main baited spot. It's almost getting predictable. It's sort of 3 days on the bounce that this has happened. It's almost as if the fish are still in the area, but they're not really feeding. But if they see something bright, visual, and smells really appealing, they'll pick it up. It's difficult to try and predict how big these fish are, because I've had a couple of them literally come straight in, feeling like small fish, especially that 40 I had, and then just sort of plod around under the rod tip. So I've got no idea if he's a big fish or not. He's not moving quickly like some of the 20s have had, so that's a good sign. There she is, 33 pound. So yeah, not a giant, but still very happy to catch. Came on the little bright pop-up as well. But there's a cracking little fish, got a lot of little starburst scales in its tail. There's definitely a certain strain in here.
This is a 31 I had this morning. I've been like bridesmaid with the boys. They've all been doing really well. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, and it's absolutely not been doing it in my swim. I think it's possibly because it's a transitional point. It's like a canal. They're just zooming through. And we looked at the snags yesterday, and the snags here were really close to the bank, almost very thin and sketchy. Where I'm fishing, you never know what you're going to get on these trips. You sometimes think in your mind you're going to go over there and it's just how big and how many, and it can all go a little bit pear-shaped, so you've got to enjoy it when it comes. So yeah, pleased with this one. So I'll show you the next one in a minute. I had one just as I was playing this, I got another bite. So the fish moved in my area when the rain started. So there we are. This one's 34 pound exactly. I've had a lean time, but at least it's coming good now. I've still got, I don't know, 4 nights left, so it's all going to work out, I'm sure it is. I always have a way of working it out one way or another.
This is what it's all about, guys. £40.4, had it this morning. Right scrap off it. It's giving me a bit of a scrap now. But yeah, have a look at that. A few scars. Brilliant. Super happy. Look at that. Absolutely unreal. And she's gone. Just like that. Awesome.
We've had 22 or 23 fish between us. We're on Tuesday. The boys are doing great. They're making me look like an amateur, which isn't unusual.
You know, I've never actually made out that I'm anything special. I'm just an old dog that's been doing it a long time. And yeah, the guys have done great. Si's had a 50 and 3 40s. Ed's had quite a few fish. I can't remember the biggest weight. We'll go through that later. Guy's had my lad over 40 pound. And I'm the bridesmaid. I've had them up to 34, but I'm not complaining. It's early yet. I always like to peak very late, and so yeah. I mean, on balance, I think we've done great, because I think there's probably about 150 fish in here, and if you think we've lost a few, we've probably stuck a hook in, you know, a fifth of the fish in the lake. We're not even to Tuesday afternoon yet, so when you look at it like that, it's not so bad. Anyway, we're using various tactics. Basically, over near the lodge, Ed's doing casting, Si's doing some casting, but he's using a bait boat as well, because on the right hand side, you're basically up against the snags, or else you've got open water, which isn't that inviting at the moment, because the fish all seem to be over that way. So he's doing good doing that. Ed's decided to fish an open water spot, and I can see why he's a big fish angler. He's got that big fish mentality, and he was fishing 2 rods on the baited area, baiting heavy as well, and then 1 off it, and ringing the changes. He's also used a bright hook bait on and off the baited area, as well as a food bait over the main baited area, and he's had fish off both. And I was a little bit sort of like, oh, Ed's putting a bit of bait in to start with. I like to sort of build slowly, but Ed's sort of pretty confident in what he's doing, put quite a lot of bait in, and the fish have responded to it, so fair play to him, and good angling. Guy really liked that spot that he's gone in. It's quite narrow down there, and I sort of thought, ooh, is it the best area? He's done great. He's had some cracking fish off it, and we've been putting in a lot of bait, little and often, me and Guy. We're on the same bait, same rigs. I'll show you a bit about that if you want. It's almost, we've rounded on it, basically. It's easy to sort of go off at tangents and use, I used to do this, a different thing on each rod when you don't really know what's going to work, but I've caught that many fish on what I'm doing recently. I have no doubts whatsoever that it's going to be a go-to thing to do. So we started on that, and I wasn't doing so well, and then Guy's really getting a lot of bites, so I'm thinking we're on the same thing, it's working. It must be down to the fish are transient where I am, passing through quickly and not wanting to loiter. Because of the nature of the swim, I'm using quite tight lines as well, so that's never good with 3 rods with tight lines. I can't afford to fish slack lines or fluorocarbon because I'm fishing close to snags. By the time they've picked up your slack lines or you know, the fluoro that you use, and if you were to slacken off, it's all done and dusted. It's too late. They're in the timber work, and I don't want to do that. So I'm fishing banjo tight, and it's gone against me a little bit. I started off, interestingly enough, just using 20-pound line straight through, which is quite dark green. And I noticed in this place you've got a lot of dust particles, because it's got an inlet with a river running through it, or a bit of a stream. It's got all this fine white sandy coloured sediment in there, and it sticks to your line, and like laser beams going out. And I didn't change over. I was fishing Horseshoe last time I was out, and you're not allowed to use leaders on there, so I took the fluorocarbon leaders off, which are 26 pound, and I'm just using, or I was using, nylon straight through, and it was so blatant and obvious. I think that affected things. So first thing I did to make amends was to put fluorocarbon leaders on, which is what Guy had on, strangely enough. Then I started catching, because the syndicate where I fish in England, I'm fishing across a deep void of deep water to lily pads, and I noticed very, very quickly that if you use the fluorocarbon, the fish don't seem to spook off it as much. So I think that's had a bearing on it. Putting the fluorocarbon on has definitely worked. Right, let's talk about what I'm doing. You probably might have seen a few of these videos previous. I'm a big advocate of heavy leads in the right circumstance. If I'm on really horrible deep silt, I don't bother. Safety clips. I'm not mad on helicopter rigs. Never been a big fan of those. I will use them if I have to, but I'm not so sure about the indication qualities when you fish into snags and things like this. So I've got a size 5 curve on, shrink tube liner, ring swivel on the blowback system. So this hook bait is 16mm, and it's a 2% wafter. I know that sounds a bit strange, but it's only got 2% of cork in it. So what I used to do, and Mick Ball, my mate who does the bait for us, he made these on my suggestion. What I used to do when I was fishing a really difficult syndicate water I used to fish, if you use straight bottom baits, it didn't quite work, and if you use too blatant a wafter, they seem to clean you out now and again and leave it. So I started getting a cork ball, hanging it on my rig, just the last 3 or 4 inches of the hook length and the hook, and I'd trim the cork ball till it was critically balanced and then put that inside a 16mm bait. So Mick's done some messing around, and he thought that 2% cork inside a bottom bait just negates the weight of the hook and the last few inches of the hook length. Anyway, it seems to work. Me and Guy have been using it a lot, and just recently, I know I'm not doing brilliant on here, but in England I've had a right old run of nice fish. I always tip the bait with some Enterprise plastic corn, not a blatant plug. I've used it for donkey's years. Carp love corn. I use a lot of corn in the mix if I'm able to spot out or go around and bait by hand, or whatever means I'm doing. If I'm baiting by boat, that little bit of corn on there, it's just like a magnet to them. And I very rarely cast out a rig without that on. And of course we've got Poisson Chat in here, and we've got some catfish of the wells, small wells, and we've got crayfish. So even if they strip your hook bait off, if it gets softer, you're still fishing with a piece of plastic on. Bear that in mind, because if you put a small pop-up on the top, they can demolish both. So at least you're still fishing with this. So there we are. I've rounded on that as about 8 or 9 inches. Unless my bedroom tape measure is wrong, yeah, I think it's about that. And that's what I use for the go-to hook length, rather than too short or too long. So yeah, 9 inches is lovely.
Right guys, just a quick one on the rig I'm using and how I'm fishing this session. Basically very simple, nothing too complicated. Just using a quick safety system. Quite a big lead, 4.5 ounce. Just because these fish know what they're doing and I want them to be hooked. And it's been successful, so I'll stick at that. Just using a Slip D. It's been doing me amazing pretty much all year. I'm loving it. I just top it with a bit of corn on some of the wafters I'm using from MB Baits, Mick Ball again. That's what I've been using. Quite a long hook length, so the fish don't go mental too quick. I've got a bit of time to get down on the rods, and yeah, it's working and I'm loving it. So yeah, let's go.
Well, as you've probably guessed, I'm into another fish, and you're probably a little bit bored of watching me play fish, but I've asked Simon to get the camera because since the moment I hooked it, it feels quite heavy. It's not done anything, it's not done any big charging runs, it's just staying low and just plodding all the way from out there. It kited a long way on me and tried to get me in a big set of snags, which is opposite, but like I say, I'm fishing short and open water, and all I needed to do was just not give it any line, and it could swing round and it'd be all right. But it had a good go. So yeah, it's just hanging low. I've just seen a flash of colour there. It's a mirror, but I don't know how big he is. Looks all right. Look at this one. I thought it was a big fish as soon as I hooked it. Sometimes you can't tell, but a lot of the smaller ones have just gone, you know, very quickly from the minute you've hooked them and kited around quite a lot and moved around. This one just plodded from the moment I hooked it to when it was right under the rod tip. And it didn't actually take any line, it literally just plodded and plodded and plodded. So yeah, really pleased. Biggest fish of the session for me, 45 pounds, and yeah, very, very welcome. He's my first dust bite, believe it or not, first sort of evening bite. So it's nice to get one in the evening. I did a slightly different tactic of getting the rods out earlier today, not putting as much bait out, to try and get an earlier fish, and it's worked, it's paid off. So really happy. Let's let him go back. That'll do.
The theme for the week continued, with early wake-up calls from fish, but Ed seemed to be getting amongst the smaller ones for some reason.
Yeah, I'm never going to complain about catching fish. I just wish they were, well, twice the size of this, really. Awesome. Come on.
Hi everyone. Well, it's Wednesday morning, and we're just about halfway through the week, and it's gone really well. Not so good for me, but I'm not complaining about that. I can't have it my own way all the time, and there's still plenty of time left to do something. But it has gone a little bit quiet, which I tend to find does happen on these week-long sessions, on these European waters. What you'll get is it'll start off good because they know when Saturday's around, if they change over time Saturday for sure. It's remarkable the amount of bushing and fizzing you see when it's quiet, when the anglers have left, and then the new set of anglers will come in, see that there's all this activity and be rubbing their hands, and then, you know, it's not unusual to get a reasonable start, then it goes through a bit of a lull. Anyway, we're expecting the big fish Thursday and Friday, you know, if we're lucky. It's gone pretty good actually. There's, you know, we're all happy. And I've got one to show you that I've just had at about 9:30 this morning. That's my feeding time here, you know, without a doubt. Ed seems to be getting them in the open water, but he's struggling with the big fish. He's getting quite a few 20s. And then it'll happen there in the night, early morning, and then it's pretty obvious that the fish are transient and moving down through where I am. I'll get one or two chances if I'm lucky, and then they seem to go down that narrow end where you can only stalk, you can't bivvy up down there, so it's a bit of a sanctuary really, despite it being very shallow. And I think Guy's got more access to that end, and the fish are milling about, and he's stopping them as they're coming and going out of the safe zone, if you like. Anyway, he's got a beautiful fish there, a real big apple slice plated mirror that we'll show you in a minute. And yeah, we're quite expectant, and I mean, we're going through a lot of bait, so they're definitely troughing these fish. It's just nailing them down. I can only catch them up against the snags. I've tried open water and it just isn't working for me. I can't seem to stop them, but I know Ed found some clear gravel on this silty sort of lake, so it's obviously a very good feeding spot he's on. But I just can't find any hard spots. It's all pretty smelly silt. So, you know, it's not surprising that I'm not doing so well in open water. As I say, the snag rods are the ones. And I'll show you this beauty that I had this morning. Right, there we are. This is the one that I was talking about. It's a beauty. angry fish, this. £40 exactly. Couldn't get a midges higher or midges lower. I would have accepted 39, 15. I'm not bothered about any of that nonsense. Yeah, so there we go.
Hey, check this one out. 10 o'clock this morning, middle rod screened off. What a beauty. Unbelievable fish. Not many mirrors in here looking like this, I don't think, so I am over the moon.
Right guys, it is Wednesday now and I've not really had a lot of time to talk to you yet this week because as you've seen, it's been absolutely manic with the amount of fish we've been catching. I think Ed's had about 12, I've had 6, Frank's had 4 and his son Guy's had 7 or 8, so obviously that's a lot of work for me running up and down with the cameras, but it's Wednesday now and we've had a bit of a break from the lake today, so it's been really nice. We went out to the supermarket and got some more supplies, and we also went for a really nice steak and a pint at a nice restaurant local to here, and we feel a lot more kind of refreshed and relaxed now, and we're just getting the rods out for the evening. So I thought I'd give you a little update of kind of how I'm fishing because I've not really had a chance to sort of tell you yet. So basically we're in the house swim here. I'm on the right hand side, Ed's on the left hand side. He's mostly fishing the open water out there with a spread of boilies. But opposite me I've got a really big set of snags. Now the first day I thought, well, those snags are not to be ignored, so I put them over really tight to the snags. But unfortunately I lost a fish in there, you know, to a hook pull. I was bullying it a bit too much and unfortunately lost it, and it kind of played on my mind a bit that I couldn't sleep because I was worried about losing fish. So instead of doing that, I've dropped back off the snags, maybe about a rod length and a half, just to sort of try and pull the fish out the snags with my bait, rather than kind of giving it where they're sitting in the snags, that hopefully they're going to come out and feed on the bait that I'm putting out, and I'll have a lot better chance of landing them, and it's a lot safer for the fish as well. So that's what I'm doing now, and in a minute I'll turn the camera around and show you kind of where I'm fishing roughly. But I've got obviously 3 rods. One of them's going out tonight on a little pop-up rig, like a little withy pool rig there, with a little black garlic pop-up. So I'm using pellets in my mix, and I think something like this is a little bit more subtle than a bright, you know, yellow or orange or something. I'm going out with boilie crumb and boilies and pellets, and this is almost to sort of match a pellet, if you like. Where I've been fishing on this particular rod, I've been winding in little bits of twig and leaves and stuff, so I figured I'm going to try a pop-up, even though I've caught from that spot. Ed's been catching on pop-ups, and I thought, well, you know, I'll give it a go on a pop-up tonight and just see if it makes any difference to my catch rate, because I've had 6 fish so far, but the last 24 hours have been quiet for me and I've not had any bites since yesterday morning, I think it was. So it might be that I'm not presenting very well on the spots, and it's a bit hit and miss whether I'm actually fishing effectively. So I think if I fish a pop-up, I've got a good chance of being presented a little bit better, and that's a bit more subtle than a sort of a bright bait. I'll talk you through the bait that I'm using as well in a second. And my other rig that I'm using is just a bog standard kind of a D rig with a boilie topped with half a pop-up, so it forms a bit of a wafter kind of snowman type rig. And that's what I've had all my fish on so far, but like I say, I'm going to try a pop-up tonight and see if that makes any difference. Right, so I just want to run you through quickly the bait that I'm using for this session. In my bucket here with my Carpy wooden spoon, I've got some pellets that I've kind of prepped up in a special way. So I've got a mixture of different sizes there and sort of breakdowns as well. And what I've done is added 3 liquids to that with different kind of viscosity and different buoyancy to try and attract the fish through the different layers, because basically rather than putting loads and loads of bait out, I've just been fishing for a bite on this session, because I'm kind of doing all the filming. I'm not fishing hard, you know, I'm kind of just getting the rods out
for the night really, and during the day I'm kind of resting the swim. So I'm just kind of putting a bit of bait out and just putting little patches out, hopefully nicking bites here and there, and it's been working. But by putting extra attraction in my bait and less bait, it's got the pulling power of more bait without really feeding the fish. So I feel like you can keep the fish kind of coming back for more rather than filling them up. So what I've got in there is some salmon oil, which is obviously an oil so it's buoyant, so it will come up through the layers and pull any fish down that are swimming over the top of the bait. And then I've got some pure marine extract, which is like a marine crustacean, sort of quite a thin liquid, which kind of leaches out along the bottom, and it's quite thin, so obviously it will kind of get stirred up as the fish start feeding in the swim, and it gets into the silt, and it just adds that extra attraction. And then the last one is a squid and calanus liquid, which is a little bit thicker. It's going to stick to the bait a little bit more and kind of just give you that different kind of dimension to your bait, which is already attractive in its own right. Now, once I put the liquids on and they're still shiny on the outside of the pellets, then I add the final ingredient, which is the prep powder from Pure Bait Concepts, which is like a lot of different sort of meal, you know, like fish meals. It's got crustacean meal, it's got green lip mussel in there. Looks like a ground bait really, but basically once your pellets are wet, you can stick the pellets, you can stick the powder on the outside, and you get a bit of a crusty coating, which just adds extra attraction. And you know that those little bits on the bottom keep the fish rooting around a lot longer, so you're using less bait. They can eat all the bait, but the attraction is still there. And then the last thing that I've been using is good old boilies. So these are the amino ester, which are it's like a milk protein sort of a bait, and they're quite sweet flavoured, you know. And I do tend to like these sorts of baits when I go to France, because there's a lot of crayfish in the water, and they obviously like fish meal and stuff. So using bait and hook baits that aren't fish meal tends to help you avoid the crayfish. I know I'm using pellets, but they'll just break down to dust pretty quickly, and then my actual sort of hook baits should get left alone, hopefully. And I've been using a boilie tipped with a bit of plastic as well, just in case the boilie gets whittled down. At least the plastic is going to remain and give me a chance of a bite. So that's the bait and tactics that I'm using. And I was just going to quickly talk you through the spots that I'm fishing. And then we're going into the night on Wednesday night, so we're well over halfway through the session, but we've all caught, and there's a good chance for a few more. Right, so I just wanted to quickly run you through the spots that I'm fishing. This is our swim, which is the house swim at Tang Mon-Yer. You've got this nice kind of swim that's built out there, and it's all gravel, so there's no mud or anything. We have had a fair bit of rain on this session, so it's nice to have had a dry swim. And I've been going out in my socks in the night for when I've had a bite, and you know, there's not really any problem apart from wet socks. But yeah, opposite, as you can see there, we've got this nice line of snags here, which is an obvious feature to fish to, and I'm sure most people who fish this swim probably would fish over there. And basically I started off, I had a rod kind of on the end of the snag there, one sort of in underneath, where are we? In underneath that cubby hole there, and another one just kind of on there, because what I did was I walked around and you could see where the snags, there's gaps in and out, and there's a bit of a gap there, there was a gap there, and then I figured this was a good kind of little corner under these trees and the end of the snags. But anyway, so after losing a fish the first night, I decided that I should pull off the snags a bit, because you know I can't really sleep and leave the rods fishing to snags. So I decided to come back about a rod length and a half off. So I'm now fishing in this corner, but a little bit further this way, and I'm walking around and baiting up with boilies, and then sending the boat over to drop it just off here. I was told by the bailiff when I came that that was a good area, because the sun gets on it in the afternoon and the fish like to get in there. And I went round with the marker rod as well and just kind of felt it on the bottom, and it was nice and sort of gravelly and hard over there. So that's that spot. And then my other spot where that V in the trees is there, there's a bit of a dark area in the snags,
and I've just been fishing, you know, kind of up to it, but not too close, like around about there, about a rod length and a half off, and hopefully pulling the fish out with the smell of the bait rather than dropping it on the heads. And then the other one, yeah, is just kind of over to here. There's a bit of a gap again in the snags, and I've just been sending it over and getting it out over there. So I've got all 3 rods out for the night now. As you can see down there, we are fishing, and we've done a lot of bits today. Been doing product videos and things while we're here, so it's nice to be at a point in the day where we can start to just relax. I think Frank's had another fish, so Ed's just going to go down and film it, so you'll see that next.
Right, there we go, guys. 2 ounces under 38. Nice fish. It's blowing an absolute hurricane down here, and it was very difficult to get the rods back in. We went and had steak and chips earlier, and had a few hours together, you know, as a group, which was lovely. Came back, baited up before we went, and we thought it wouldn't take long, and then there we are. And this is the result. Just having the lines out of the water for a little bit. And yeah, dead chuff with this. Lovely fish. And but you should have seen the palaver trying to get bags tight under the trees with this crosswind. It's about 50 miles an hour. It was crazy, but we did it. There we go.
Well, it's dusk on the 4th night and I've just got a bite. When I first picked the rod up, I thought it was really big, but it's literally just come all the way in. So I'm really not sure what it is.
The action continued the next day, and everyone was catching consistently by this point. We just needed that real monster to make the trip now. Working as a team, we had highs and lows, mixed weather and plenty of action. This was definitely a session to remember.
We're on Friday now, and I've had a quiet night, but I was sitting here having breakfast and I started seeing fish show out there, and I was saying to Ed, it's got to happen. It's been quiet the last couple of days for me, and as you can probably see, it's absolutely hammering down. So I'm stood under the balcony of the house here, which is nice and convenient, playing the fish, which is quite unusual, but at least I'm dry. But yeah, it's getting in quite close now. It feels like a reasonable one. So I might have to go out in the wet and get a bit nearer to the water.
Well, it's Friday morning, and I'm into another fish, and he's trying to get in that far tree line across there. I lost one early this morning because it kited me and tried to get me in that snag where I lost the previous one. So I put a bit of extra pressure on it and the hook pulled. So it doesn't seem like I can win on that situation. If I give him some stick, the hook pulls. If I let them go, they can reach the snag. So, but this one's gone the other way, so we're okay with this one for now. Well, I'm really pleased with this one. We have got another night and a bit of a morning to go of the session, but I'm not sure if I'll catch again, but if I don't, I'm happy with this one. What a cracker. Lovely scaly fish. Awesome. Let's let him go.
Right, little one, £26. Still welcome. They're all big fun, aren't they, when you're having a good time? That's all right. There we go, £38 exactly on the nose. Beautiful looking fish. They don't have to be massive. This is just an absolute unit. Very stocky, solid fish. I'm shaking here like a dog having a dump. My arms are a bit burnt out. Okay.
Thanks very much, Mr. Fish. See you later. Come on.
Well, this is the last evening. The sun's just going down behind us and the last of the sun is just hitting the far bank and those snags across there that Simon's fishing. And I've just hooked into one, again on the yellow pop-up. It's just gone absolutely mad. Everything has just wanted that yellow pop-up, whereas I was expecting the rods on the baited spot to go, but yeah, for whatever reason, they're loving the yellow pop-up just off it. I tried an orange one earlier today, no joy, so I'm way on the yellow, and it's just low and ploddy and heavy. So I'd love it if it was one of the proper chunks. Oh, here it is. Looks like it's ready already. Wow, that's the result. Come on. Come on. Come on. Looks decent. I've been after a 50 for a long time in France now, and when I first saw its head come up, the width on its shoulders and the size of its head, I thought it was going to make it, but looking at it here in the net, it's just, I don't think it's got the length, so I think it's an upper 40, so I think it's the biggest one I've had so far this session, but I just don't think it's 50, but it's, yeah, it's a bit of a unit anyway. .44. Well, look at this for a brute of a fish. It's a proper tank. All its weight is across its back and at the front end. I feel so much weight here on my left hand arm compared to my right. It's just all up front. But he's not that long, so he's not as big as I thought he was when he came up for the net. He weighed in at 44.10. No, 44.6. Sorry. So he's my second biggest fish of the session, and my second 40 on the bounce. So this is my last night here, last evening here, and it's a nice way to draw the evening to a close. And yeah, if I don't catch any more, I'm happy to end it on this. Well, just look how thick he is across the back. Behind his gill plates, his body actually fans out a little bit more to make him even wider. He's just a massively wide chunk of a carp. So yeah, really pleased with this one. Fantastic session we're having here. This is fish number 16. Never thought I'd have this many. So, really, really happy. It's just like a submarine.
Beauty. Just went down for a quick half an hour stalking and it ripped off. Look at this. Not many commons in this lake as well. And I was saying I wanted one, and here she is. Beauty. Have a look at her then. Wow. £33.14. Stalked it as well. Don't get much better for me.
Lovely, mate.
What a fish.
Well, it's the last night and it's been a very, very productive session.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought it would be this productive on here.
I know, what did you say before we came? I think Ed said I'd be happy if we had 15 fish between us, which, you know, is a good week in France, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many have you had yourself?
16.
16. I've had 9. I think the other guys had about 12 or 13. Frank's had about 8 or 9 as well. So we worked out it's somewhere around 45 fish so far, which is absolutely ridiculous, really. But we were really hoping for one of the big ones, weren't we?
Yeah, it's not really panned out as yet. There's only been 150 out in those. I think we've had 47. Yeah, you've had. I think there's been 47 fish or whatever it is. We'll do a proper tally tomorrow.
Yeah.
And only 150. So yeah, the big uns have not really surfaced, but it's been great fun and it's been absolutely manic. You know, to come to a French lake that's like this with plenty of comfort. You know, we've got the house here. You know, even though we've not slept in the house, we've slept down here. You know, and I just put my bed chair up there for the night, just so I can pack the bivvy away for an early getaway tomorrow. But it's just comfortable fishing, and there's a lot of fish.
Yeah, it's been so prolific. You know, at times I've not even bothered putting rods back out because I kind of wanted to get some sleep, or you know, I was filming people down the other end, and you know, Frank and Guy had fish that I needed to go film, so I've just been catching the fish and not bothering again, and thinking, well, I'll get another one tomorrow, so it's fine. You know, it's kind of that sort of fishing.
It is.
But these are, you know, big fish. Average size, I think I worked out my average size was 38 pound or something like that.
Is
so
it?
yeah.
Mine's not.
Is it? No. Yeah, Ed's been a bit unlucky with the average, but he's just had that 44, so that might.
Yeah, I've had 4 40s and 2 40s on the bounce, so that's helped now out no end. But
do you think different tactics for us have meant?
Yeah,
different fish size, or
this is, I mean, from what I've done, this is the first time that I've been on a long session, you know, more than a night or two, and not changed tactics at all throughout the whole session.
Yeah,
you know,
you were saying that earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, I just fluked it from the off. I don't know, you know, because I'm filming and Si's filming and the guys are down there. I wanted to fish open water because I didn't want to be having to sit on the rod butts all the time. You know, I wanted to have you know, a little bit more freedom. So I've opted for the open water option. So I fished 2 rods on a baited area, 1 rod just off it, and it's paid out throughout.
And you've literally just fished boilies, haven't you?
I've just fished boilies, yeah, and that's my normal go-to.
Yeah.
So I've used mainline cell, a mainline hybrid, mixture of the two in 14mm and 18mm. And I put it out from the boat one day, but to be honest with you, I can sort of put a marker float out there and just catapult it straight across, and it's an easy way to fish. To be honest.
Discovered quite quickly that the boat in wind and a thunderstorm probably wasn't the best idea, so it's probably safer and easier just to walk around, isn't it? So
yeah, but when it's flat calm like this, it'd be dead easy with the boat just to.
See, my tactics were slightly different. Instead of putting a load of bait like Ed, he's been putting sort of 2, 3, 4 kilos out at a time, fishing for a bit of a hit. I've just been fishing for a bite at a time, really, because I've not been having the rods out constantly. I've been sort of putting them out for the night, really, kind of winding in a bit in the day, and just thinking, well, if I can pick up the odd fish whilst I'm working, then it's a bonus, you know. But I feel like that less bait has maybe helped me catch slightly bigger fish, you know. You know, the 50 and the 47 being my 2 biggest, and I've also had 2 41s as well, and quite a few kind of upper 30s, so my average has been a bit higher, and I've had less fish, but they've been bigger. So I wonder if, you know, that is interesting to think about. You know, I've been fishing boilies and pellets, but just literally like maybe 4 handfuls in a boat. I'm not ashamed to say, because it's just easier when you're trying to get the rods out just before dark, after working all day. But anyway, I thought it was just interesting to think the difference between tactics and the different result.
And the one thing that surprised me is, from my tactics, is that I've had more fish on the yellow pop-up, a couple of rod lengths off the baited area, compared to on the baited area. I thought the baited area would be the one that was going, and I'd pick up bonus fish just off the side of it. And to be honest with you, all the bigger fish have come off the yellow pop-up off the side of it. That 44.
That's a classic tactic, I suppose, isn't it? Like bait an area, but one off the side for the bigger fish, and actually that's really paid off for you. So.
In fact, I think all 4 of my 40s came off that one.
Yeah. So
I'm just trying to think. Yeah,
it's worth trying that, guys. If you're going to France or wherever, really, if you want to catch a bigger fish, maybe try bait up and then fish a rod, 2 or 3 rod lengths off to the side on a single, and you've still got 2 rods on the bait. You know, so you can, if the bait's kicking off, get a 3rd rod on the bait. But if it's slow and you're getting the odd bite here and there, then you might find that the one off the bait is getting bigger fish. So,
yeah. But it's a real interesting lake, and anybody that's interested in fishing here, just so you guys know it, I think it's really helped us having me and Simon this end of the lake and Frank and Guy down that end of the lake. I think a lot of people that fish this lake fish it in, just bring the family and fish it on their own, or just fish it in pairs and threes, but I think literally we've bounced the fish backwards and forwards.
Yeah, we said that even before we started, that it's going to be good having 4 people, because we're kind of dotted down the lake quite evenly spread. Yeah. The lines are quite evenly spread, so the fish can't really hide at one end. You know, if you're all in one swim, well, the house swim or whatever, they're going to go down the far end, so that's worked out really well. But if you come as a pair, it's not quite as sociable, but maybe have one in the woods, one in here, and you can kind of bounce the fish between you. So
how we've done it is, basically, you can only fish this bank. There's a stalking swim right down the bottom end of the far bank, so you can only fish this bank. So what we've done is, me and Si have dropped in here. I'm kind of fishing more Woods 1 water, which is a swim probably about 100 yards down there, so I'm kind of fishing out there. Frank's dropped in Woods 2, so he's controlling that sort of central section
middle
there.
Of the lake, yeah.
And then Guy's down the sharp end, and he can cast baits up towards, you know, where the stream comes in, or kind of in that direction. So by ignoring Woods 1, which I think is the second most popular swim on the lake, barring this one, we've able to sort of bounce the fish around a little bit, and we've had plenty of space between me and Frank to, you know, fish properly. So it's a good way to do it, and it's certainly an interesting lake.
Yeah, we've loved it. It's got great facilities, you know, fridge, freezer downstairs here and upstairs as well. Bedrooms if you need to have a proper kit, you know, not on a bed chair. And cooking facilities and everything, you know, and toilet and shower. So it's like being at home, but you're fishing for 50s and 60s on your front doorstep, which, you know, who wouldn't want that, right?
Yeah, no, it's a cracking little lake.
Yeah, so we really appreciate, you know, the lake inviting us down to do a bit of filming, and it's been a brilliant time. So last night, last chance to get one of the real big ones. There's quite a few sort of upper 50s and 60s in this lake, and I'd love to catch a common over 40 pounds, so I've never had one, and you want your French 50 pounder.
Yeah, we were just working out that I've now had 30 odd French fish from lakes like Gigantica and Marpesh and whatever else. I've never made that, never broke that 50 mark.
You had that 49.12 last year, didn't you, at Marpesh, which was an absolute stunning fish. If you haven't seen that, go check out the video on our YouTube channel from last year. But Ed has been very unfortunate with his fish captures in France so far. But hopefully tonight's the night. Right, you're not going to believe what's happened. We're literally just about to wind in. I was just saying to Ed, we'd better get on the road. And I saw a fish show in the middle of the snags, and I said, that left-hand rod's going to go in a minute. And believe it or not, it has. And I think it might be the biggest fish of the week. Certainly getting on for 50 pound. But yeah, I'm absolutely shaken. Can't believe it. It's one of them sort of adrenaline moments where you're not expecting something, and then there it goes. So going to get it out and weigh it now, and we'll show you, and then we really ought to get going. Well, we got a bit excited there. I think it might be down to the lack of sleep that we've had this week. It's been so busy and hectic. But this fish was £48.12, so not quite my biggest of the week, but my second biggest. And it's fish number 10 for me, which is sort of my target that I wanted, so I'm well happy with that. As you can see, I'm shaking because it's pretty heavy to hold it. But yeah, what a way to end. What a fantastic week we've had here. Really enjoyed it with the guys, and everyone's caught a stack load of fish, so yeah, you can't say much better than that really. So yeah, we need to get on the road and go get our ferry, so take a couple of pictures and get him back. And away.
Look at this fella, my third 40 on the bounce and my 17th fish of the week, and I think this is a great way to end the session. We've pretty much packed up now. We've still got a couple of rods out each, but in realistic terms, I think this is going to be the last fish, and it is an absolutely awesome way to end. I think between us we had around about 50 fish for the week, which I never expected that. I don't think any of us expected that. So it's been a hell of a week's fishing. None of the real big gills have turned up, but I've enjoyed it all the same. Such a picturesque lake, and yeah, quite like it down here.